There was rumors that your deal with Vuori was valued around $2 million.
Okay, so
Did you ever think that you would be training people like Hailey Bieber and Kaia Gerber?
I've worked with a lot of them for so long. Like I started with Kaia, Maddie Ziegler, Olivia Rodrigo, all when they're 18, which is crazy.
Kirsty Godso, are you ready to get hot, smart, rich?
I'm ready, baby. I really had a very, very clear dream. I'm going to work for Nike from like 6 years old. I think that was why I became a trainer. Straight out of university, I was teaching in the gym. That was how Nike found me. People would be like, that's that Nike girl. But I was like, I have a name. I'm my own person. We fight so hard to get these things that then we actually don't know when it's time to leave. I'd been with Nike for 13 and a half years. I felt like very sad and lonely and like didn't have anyone to really talk to about it. I had this very bad relationship with my value. Oh yeah, I don't negotiate on that anymore. This opportunity came up. You know, I'd heard about Vuori. They were on my radar. I felt really excited again. And I hadn't felt excited in a long time. The athleisure space in general, it's insane how much money there is. And I think what I notice now is...
Wait, so you've never publicly disclosed what's your opinion on Ozempic?
Ooh. Honestly...
In case you missed it, you're allowed to be hot, smart, and rich. So let's get into it. Kirsty Godso, are you ready to get hot, smart, rich?
I'm ready, baby.
I knew your energy coming in here was like firepower. How did you feel walking in?
I was excited. Well, you and I, we met in an elevator, which sounds like the start to a romance novel.
So it's even deeper than that because I actually saw you walking on the street to the hotel. And I said to my sister, I was like, oh, I love that girl. She's so cool. And then I started beating myself up because I was like, why didn't I just go up to her and ask for her number? And like, not to pick you up, but to like come on the show.
Pick me up. If you want.
And then I see you. I end up saying something, and now here we are, like 4 months later?
Yeah, and it was so sweet because I was like, oh my gosh, you just had like posted something really sweet about my Vuori partnership and stuff. And it was like one of those, like, I really believe in divine like meetings and moments that things happen at the right time. And it's been amazing to even just watch like your trajectory since that time of meeting. Crazy. And I think like I love to see a woman win. I love it.
You have become the go-to trainer for basically our favorite celebrities and also like one of my favorite original creator brands. What does wellness and fitness, though, actually mean to you?
I think for so many people, like, wellness is a performance, right? It's all these amenities and it's all these things. But for me, like, wellness is just like how I live. Like, I grew up in New Zealand. I grew up on a farm. And there's like really not much to do. So I was just always like very sporty. Everything about my life was kind of centered around wellness. New Zealand's a very healthy country. I never liked this whole idea about this transactional side of wellness and fitness and everything. So for me, it's like, it's just so natural. It's actually more unnatural not to be healthy and to just live like a well life than it's hard work to do the opposite.
Don't you feel like we as women are all geared towards the word wellness and men are so geared towards the word fitness? Why is that?
Well, I also think, like, for me, fitness is a little tacky. Like, okay. I hate having to be like, if sometimes people are like, oh, you're a fitness trainer. I'm like, okay, very literal. I think wellness is more encompassing of like the full scope of what wellness is. But that also makes sense why women would say that because we have a highly engineered system that we have to think about. Like, we can be 4 different ladies in the same month, you know, like we are very specialized. I always like to say, like, because, you know, sometimes women will even say things like so much easier for men. And I'm like, yeah, but we have so much more texture to us. You know, that's how I think about it. So like, I do think we have to look at it more as wellness and they can dumb it down and say just fitness.
When you dreamt of what you're doing now, like, did you ever think that you would be training people like Hailey Bieber and Kaia Gerber and all of these incredible people that are now your go-to clients?
No, I mean, being from New Zealand also where we have no celebrities except Lord and like our rugby team. I also trained Lord. But
Did you?
Yes, from when she was like 16. But I didn't. Like, I really had a very, very clear dream that I wanted to work from Nike, like scarily so that teachers used to say something to my parents about it when I was in primary school. They were like very direct about like, I'm going to work for Nike from like 6 years old. No joke. Like so certain. But I thought I was going to work in marketing for Nike. I never even knew you could be like a Nike trainer. So much so I went on and got like a finance and marketing degree because I was like, okay, I'm going to work at Nike. Straight out of university, I go apply for a job. And they're like, no jobs. None in New Zealand, none in Australia. Then it was funny, probably like a year and a half after that, like Nike sought me out via like my side job, which was teaching in the gym. So it was like a funny little like, yeah.
So you weren't even a trainer at this point?
Well, I was a trainer, sorry, then by the time but when I first sought out Nike, I wasn't. No, I went, like my first job out of university, I was a media buyer. I had this fear. I've always been very good at saving and I like hate owing people money. So I was like, I have to have a job. I had a job before I sat my last exam at university. And then I just went into this first job. It was amazing. I learned a lot, but I always knew I wanted to work in marketing. And then I moved over to a fitness company. I'd always was going to the gym. I was obsessed with the gym. I used to curate my entire university timetable around the gym timetable, to the point that I would go to 7 a.m. calculus because I wanted to go to a 9 a.m. body pump class. Now, let me tell anyone, 7 a.m. calculus is horrific. At any time of day, horrific, but 7 a.m. awful. And so I kind of always just had this thing for fitness, but it was like I was obsessed with the marketing side of it. And I was like, God, I love the gym so much, but why is it so tacky? Like, why is my instructor so old? And why, like, no disrespect. And like, why is the branding bad? Why is the verbiage bad? Like, the whole branding around it was just awful. And I was like, I would love to like clean that space up. I started as like a project manager and then I became a brand manager at this company. But when we decided to launch a high intensity program, I was like, this is your moment to have young, hot people be the face of it, completely change it. Don't call it group fitness. We'll call it group training. And everything about it has to be different. They're like, okay, it's going to be you and one of my best guy friends who was like 6'3" and hot. And I was like, it's not going to be us because we're not trainers. And they're like, you guys are going to be trainers. And I was like, that's crazy. I would never do that. Like, I was like, this is like social suicide. I was like 22 and a half, I think, at the time. Next thing I knew, we were getting certified in all their group fitness programs, which, by the way, includes aerobics, guys. Aerobics. Yeah, then we started filming these fitness DVDs, and all of the workouts were basically being tested by a professor at US universities on like hockey teams and soccer teams and stuff to make sure that the intensity zones were in the right place to have like all the proof that we could about like a lot of, as you know, high intensity now is very like whatever, but at the time that was very cutting edge to come out with a program for everyone because it was just being used for athletes. So people were getting crazy results from this program. And so I think that was what turned Nike's attention. And it was just me teaching it in the gym as a side thing. Like, so I was working full time in this fitness company as a brand manager, teaching in the gym, and then filming these fitness DVDs for them that would go around the world to train up other trainers in this program. Yeah, that was how Nike found me.
You bring up like making women feel their best selves. And it was really interesting when you came down here off record, you were like, I'm wearing Vuori and I feel feminine. And like, I'm so interested in the
I say that whilst also wearing baggy jeans and shocks.
Yeah, but
this is Vuori cashmere.
Okay. But I think it's an interesting conversation about the athleisure space in general, because we saw obviously Nike have just like a domination over the market, Lululemon. Then there was like Alo Yoga that came out of nowhere. And now there's Vuori. What do you think it takes to build these billion-dollar athleisure brands?
Yeah, I mean, it's such an interesting climate. Like, I've obviously been with Nike for so long that I don't even remember wearing anything else before. The only thing I can remember is like this very chic, like Adidas Stella McCartney set that was like a matching set in a fitness DVD that I wore years ago. I hate even that I have to say DVD. It makes me sound so old. I'm 25, in case anyone's wondering. You know, Nike had been my dream for so long that I was like laser focused on it. But Nike is a very performance driven, like, athletics cut style brand, right? Like, I wouldn't say it's almost the most flattering on women's bodies. And so that was all I knew and all I was used to for so long. I personally never liked Alo. Some of my friends are the trainers there. And
what
I
is
really
with
like
Alo?
them. I don't respect the brand. I don't like it. I just think that it looks a little tacky and cheap, but girls like it. And I think they're falling out of love with it. That's what I feel like they're seeing now. I think the handbag was a huge, bizarre call from them to bring out. I don't think they should have done shoes, in my opinion. But I think that with Alo, it came in hot and heavy, and they've done a lot of maybe like smart plays on, like, you know, they started an influencer gym. By the way, we always had a Nike influencer gym in New York. Well, we would never call it an influencer gym, and we weren't even allowed to film people in there forever. It was purely about serving these people who were so taken advantage of all the time and being a support network for them. So we had amazing relationships with editors, like top models, like creatives in New York, and me and Joe would run that gym. And it was amazing. And then Alo kind of like came out with this gym, but they made it so front facing, and they made it become this thing of like, oh, I want to go into the Alo gym, you know, and do this thing. I'm like, you don't really want to go in the gym. You're not going to do a full workout and like, you know, and you're just going to be filmed most of the time. But I think that helped drive so much like value of the business for them, because you were seeing all these people going into the gym, and also the timing around like COVID had just happened. A lot of big brands were nervous about how to move. You know, brands of Lulu and Nike size were like, didn't know how. They get a lot of opinion and frustration from the general population. So I think it was easier for Alo to be like, whatever, we'll just do it. And we'll be some of the first people to come back in doing like group fitness and things like that and having people inside a gym. I'm not sure what's going on with Lulu at the moment. I personally have never really thought anything about Lulu. Like, I think they've always failed to have a proper brand identity. So I think what's important for Vuori as they're coming up, like they have amazing product. Their product feels great. It fits great. And now it's about really like stamping and like, what does your brand mean and stand for? And like, how does it make people feel? Because when you think of Nike, you think just do it. You think sport, you think athleticism. So that's what's really fun of what we're working on with Vuori now. But if you think about the athleisure space in general, it's insane how much money there is. And I think what I notice now is that consumers are way less brand loyal than they were before. They don't have the same nostalgia that they do with a Nike or Adidas. Sorry if you say Adidas. I'm from New Zealand. We say Adidas. And they don't care. They want to wear what they feel good in. So they might buy Crop Shop Boutique. They might buy Form. They might buy Honor Active or all these different things. But they don't care so much about that big brand label. They want to look cute. They want to feel good. And that's how they're shopping.
Why do you think that Vuori has been able to grow 44% in the year 2023 when the sportswear market in general only expanded by 2.4%?
You know, Vuori's rise was really interesting. Like the first thing I remember, like, because I read a lot of like things about, I remember when I was seeing, I was like, wow, they're getting crazy investment. Like, who is this brand? This was kind of like years ago. I was like, whatever. And then even when Kaia was like, oh, I'm going to sign with Vuori. And I was like, that's interesting. And I think they're very smart. Joe, the founder, is very involved with the brand, which I think helps. And they also have very great investors. You know, like Kaia's dad's an investor who's an incredible businessman. And, you know, they've got Cindy as part of the brand as well. But I think what they've realized is they had a lot of growth and they were really excelling through, you know, obviously I'm sure you've seen some of the stats on it being like a core short that drove a lot of business, or their joggers during COVID and loungewear. Then women started to be like, oh, I can wear their workout sets. I actually like these. But it had this more Pilates yoga type niche setting. I think what happens for Vuori is once people try one set on, they get it and they get hooked, and the retention is really good. So now what we're trying to do is bring in a slightly younger demographic and also maybe a sportier demographic. So I'm not sure if you saw like Kaia's collection, but it was like a hybrid between some of their pieces. So you had this very like a low-rise booty short, and which I thought was going to be like very few people would wear, and people were crazy about it. And then with the little cami tops and then the wide flare legging, and I really think it's about what I've found the moment that I send people product. It's the first time they try it on, the reaction's amazing. And they keep having that reaction like every single time they're like, I just can't believe how soft it is. I can't believe how good the quality is. I feel so good in this. And that's what you keep hearing is I feel so good in this. So once you make people feel good, they want to keep buying something, right? Once you've felt good, you have the barometer and that reference point, and you don't want to not feel good again.
Kaia Gerber has obviously been one of like the most front-facing kind of like cool girls that's been a part of Vuori. I feel like when she signed with them, it was a moment of like, she didn't sign with Alo. Was she an Alo girl?
No.
So she just went straight to her first athleisure brand being Vuori.
Yeah.
Do you think that this celebrity effect of like the way that Alo was built on celebrity and influencers, and now Vuori is doing Kaia and you, like that is actually one of the most important things that an athleisure brand does, is signing these huge celebrities?
I think it's important in a sense. I just think it's a little bit more authentic. You know, I think that maybe some of other brands use people that don't necessarily actually align with sport. Like people have seen Kaia and I training together through like whatever we share on Instagram stuff for years now. They know she's in the gym working hard. Like people have seen it in person or they've seen it online. And I think that her and I have this very authentic relationship. She doesn't do random partnerships, you know? She's not one of these girls that posts everything about their life on the internet. And so if she chooses to do something, she's a very smart businesswoman. It kind of sends a signal. And I think that Kaia also was one of the first like cool like young girls really posting posting about working out and being in the gym. And because it's so integral to not only like her physical health, but her mental health. And like she is so disciplined, she's so driven, she's so focused. And so like even this week, she had a really early call time. She's like, oh, we could skip it or we could like be toxic and go at 6 a.m. I was like, see you at 6, you know? And I'm like, who cares? Like, let's do it. Like in COVID, we were training. She was on American Horror Stories. We were training at 5 or 5:30 in the morning. She'd drive in from Malibu all the way to Silver Lake when we're using Undefeated Gym and like would work out and like she'd go straight to set afterwards. And like, I was like, wow, that is someone that is going to have a huge stamp on this market. And I've always said, like, I hope she gets a role where she plays some sort of like Lara Croft or whatever, because she's so much stronger than anyone gives her credit for. But I think there's just more authenticity to that partnership, you know? And then I think obviously having the two of us together, you know, ironically, we did a Nike campaign together.
I read the article.
Thank you. And it's really fun to be at Vuori together, you know, and to have this partnership. And I think the friendship brings so much of a piece to it for people as well. You know, I think they're like, wow, these are two women that met through working out and who are really important parts. Like she's my biggest cheerleader. Like she's insane. And like she was the one that converted me to Vuori. I was like, she was the one that like, she kept coming in wearing the baby tee, which is my favorite thing. And these like little shorts that they weren't out yet. So she was wearing the sample of them forever. And I was like, what? You look so hot. Like, that's Vuori? I was like, oh, man, maybe I just had the wrong perception because I would always just think about the legging with the tire on the front.
Same.
Yeah. And like, that's not my style personally. I mean, I love shorts and like a top. Like, you never see me working out in a sports bra. That's a very specific decision for me. I've never worked out in a sports bra in front of other people. You know, I came up in group fitness mostly, and it's like my job is to be here to make other people feel good about themselves. So my body doesn't need to be on display to do that because that's more about me than it is about them. And if it would make maybe one person in the room not feel good about themselves, I will always have a top on. I remember my first ever Nike campaign. They were like, okay, we're going to take your top off for some shots. And I just like died inside. I was like, oh my God. And even the photographer was like, I think you should just give her the tank back because and I was ripped. I was 8% body fat. I couldn't have been leaner. I was like, just there was muscle everywhere. But I was like, that's not who I am. Like, that's not my identity. I don't use my body to like, because I think that, you know, a lot of people in wellness, like, and I want people to be proud of their bodies, but sometimes people use it as like, you know, a selling point for a lot of things. And I could probably drive a lot more subscriptions from taking my top off. But like, I want to attract you with my expertise and my energy. And like, yeah, you'll probably see my legs a lot, but I will always have a top on.
Have you seen this whole thing that we're bringing back like 2016 right now?
Yeah.
It made me think a lot about like this high intensity obsession that we had in 2016
Yes.
and like what the impact of that was for women's bodies.
Yeah.
Like looking back at that time in the fitness world, what are the things that we were doing right? And what are the things that were just like so detrimental to having the body of like a Hailey Bieber or a Kaia Gerber?
I think the problem with high intensity is that it is so amazing for you, but no one wanted to do it in the moderation that was prescribed. So myself even, like we were telling everyone 3 times a week max, but then you should have this amount of recovery in between. Well, I was teaching back-to-back classes and I would often have people trying to stay for both classes and I'd be like, respectfully, you need to leave. And they're like, but you're doing it. And because I had to do the entire class with everyone. So it's not like I was just on the mic like, what's up?
Yeah.
I was doing the whole thing, vomited in my mouth one time, had to swallow it, very chic. It was that hard. And I would be doing it back to back. And so people were like, oh, well, I'm going to do it. I was like, I'm getting paid. I have to be here. The problem is, you know, it's like anything. We start feeling really good doing something and we have no boundaries and no limits on ourselves, you know? You watch girls do it all the time with things like skincare or this and that. And it's just like we get obsessive and we just want all the good from something, but we don't want to do it in the moderation of how, like, in a sustainable way for our body. So high intensity is not bad. Keto diets and stuff are not bad. It's just that no one knows or wants to really respect and honor how much they should be done.
How much should they be done today?
So now you can even do it like even if you had, they say 30 minutes total across the week of actually being in a high intensity zone. So that might actually be 2 30-minute workouts because maybe 15 minutes of each you're going to be in that full zone. Because remember, in high intensity, you're always going up and you're coming back down. And if you don't get that recovery interval, it's not the true intensity. Most people aren't even doing that now. They're completely avoiding it. Now, the most important thing from high intensity standpoint is you're getting this crazy cardiovascular benefit. So you're really talking about heart health. But everyone has made it a conversation just about inflammation and burnout and this and this and this. But no one wants to talk about everything they were doing in conjunction with that. Like even me, I've burnt my body out, but I never blame HIIT. I blame myself. I'm like, guys, it was not normal to do 16 HIIT classes a week as well as all this other training I was doing and things. But I'm like, it was my job. Like I was going to work, you know? It's not like it was a lifestyle choice to be like obliterating myself. And I was keto, and it was, it's a demanding lifestyle. When you're filming back-to-back workouts, you're not eating that much because you can't, because you're going to feel sick in the next workout. So I think it's just about stepping back. Don't blame a category of fitness for anything. Just be like, okay, how does this work for my body? How do I feel really good with it? So even with my clients, the way I do it is I just dose in little bursts. So we might have like 10 minutes of cardio amongst an hour session. And so even in Pyro, I have this workout called Strength, Sweat, Sculpt, where I say you get a microdose of cardio. So you get like 10 minutes. So that can count towards that like 30-minute weekly prescription. Whereas in the past, we used to say, hey, high intensity maximum is done 3 times a week, but you have to have the adequate recovery in between. Most of us want to work out maybe 5-6 days a week. So then you have to just decide. You're like, okay, maybe I can't do 3 HIIT workouts a week. Maybe I should be anchored in strength. I think for most women, that's how you're going to get the best body. Have a calculated cardio, where you're hitting the specific intervals to get the fat burning that you want and the cardiovascular benefits. And then having something like Pilates and yoga to lengthen the body back out.
What is the way that you lay out the right type of goal for your clients so that you can appropriately adjust what that workout schedule will be, including recovery and rest and things like that, to actually achieve that goal?
Well, what's great with my clients is like I've worked with a lot of them for so long. Like I started with like Kaia, Maddie Ziegler, Olivia Rodrigo, all when they're 18. Which is crazy. Circling back to your question earlier, actually, like Kaia was always my dream client. And it was just funny the way that we ended up meeting, like in a Pilates class. And then we would keep sort of being in the same class. And she was like, I'm sure you're not taking any clients, but like, would you ever have time to train me? And I was like, I could probably fit you in. Like, but she's truly one of my best friends. We're obsessed with each other. Like we spend so much time, and everyone always laughs. They're like, you guys, the way you're so excited to yap and like texting all day, whatever. They're like, it's as if you weren't just with each other yesterday. I'm like, I know, but that's fun. And it keeps my job so refreshing for me with these girls, and also watching them go through these very like informative stages with their body, their life, and their career. It's just very nice to be able to be there to give them some structure and support, and, try and like help them maneuver these crazy lifestyles that they have. And like in the public eye with so much commentary on their bodies, I really help them like even schedule their recovery. I'm like, okay, you're doing your lymphatic massage at this time. You're doing myofascial on this one. We start every workout with foam rolling. We finish every workout with a stretch, because I know if I ask people to do that on their own, it's probably not going to happen. And then I know what we've done in each session. So we're training anywhere from 3 to 6 times a week together. So I'm tapering it, in between each. I'm like, okay, this day we're focusing more on glutes. This day we're doing upper body and core. This day we're doing more cardio. I'm certified in mat Pilates as well. So we do a lot of like, we fuse in this kind of very like athletic style of mat Pilates into each workout, and like for a core burn and glute burn, which is fun.
What are things that people think that they're doing, but they're not actually doing?
There's 2 things, and they're both on the opposite end of the spectrum. One, they're doing random workouts, random reps. They want a new workout every single time. You see this all the time with people that use online platforms. They're obsessed with thinking they need a new workout all the time. The body actually doesn't respond that well to it. The body wants to learn something, get better at it, and get more confident at it. Then you could like increase your weight at it, or you're improving your technique and skill, and then you're going to move on, right? So you always want, like, if you think about a gym strength training program, you're usually doing the same program for 4 to 6 weeks. I'd be cycling in between like 2 or 3 programs at a time. So like an A, B, and C, but then you're like pushing the weights up. But a lot of people aren't doing that. They're not getting enough like repetition. Or you've got the other side of it where people are staying doing the exact same workout over and over, never changing their weights or changing like the way that they're getting a progressive overload stimulus. Now, you'll hear people talk about progressive overload all the time, and it's kind of just another one of those things that's going to bop up and trend for a bit, and then it's going to be on to something else. But it is a great way to mark your progress, and you can change that without it having to be about just increasing the weight. It can be increasing the tempo you're doing something, or changing the way you're doing an exercise. But I think if people aren't having someone sort of monitor them, sometimes you don't know. You're hitting a plateau and you're kind of keeping yourself there. And then you're kind of in sustain mode maybe, and you're not getting any new results or a new challenge.
So your clients and you don't really set up your goals as like, I want to weigh this amount. You're doing like, how are Hailey and Kaia setting their fitness goals?
Well, basically, so my girls often have a shoot coming up or a movie, or, so like Maddie's leaving on a movie role now, which is amazing. So that's been really fun for us to be getting ready for the last 3 months and really focusing on that. But we never talk about our weight. Because with any of the girls, because I know in the back of my head what their comfortable like point is, that's their goal weight. I also know if I'm like, hey, I think, we don't want to go too lean because if you're on camera and your face doesn't look good, whatever that is, like it's really important energetically that they are in the right place. But it's also really important that they feel confident in their body, especially if they're going to be in lingerie or whatever it is. We have kind of long-term goals, but it's also short-term things that are coming up. Like, okay, I've got the cover of Vogue here, or I have this movie, or I have a world tour, or I'm singing at the Grammys. Obviously with Olivia, it's different because we're doing a lot of running and singing at the same time when she's getting ready for tour. And that was actually like really fun to get ready. And then it's funny. It's kind of like emotional when you watch your clients then go and perform the thing, because you're like a nervous parent, even like every time they go on a carpet, I'm like hoping that they like how they look and are having a good time and that people are being nice to them. And it's like funny too, even when you spend months getting ready for something and then they leave to go on the tour. Because I don't go on tour with my clients or like if they're in another country for a movie. I either send like an assistant trainer or they follow Pyro a lot of the time, which is great. But it is funny because it's almost like you're like, oh my gosh, like you've worked for it for so long and then they're gone. But it's amazing being able to we stay in touch all the time during the week when they're away just to make sure that they're staying on top of everything, because consistency with women is the most important thing. It's always like you'll hear people talk about consistency over intensity, and that's amazing. Whereas then you have someone like Hailey where it's like, okay, we worked out her whole pregnancy. We started back after she gave birth, like as soon as she was cleared by the doctor, and we were working out like 3 weeks later. And then it's like, okay, we're on the road to recovery with the body. Like, how do we make her feel great in her body as a new mom and honoring the energy you're in as a new mom? And what I will say about all my clients that I love is they're so hardworking, they're so kind, and they're all very driven people. So like they're so enjoyable to be with.
I think where I have fallen off from like that athleticism that I once had and being dedicated towards my goals was because I didn't have something I was working towards. Like I didn't have these big milestones. And it was really interesting because I went skiing this weekend and my dream growing up was to be a ski racer.
I saw the skiing footage, by the way. You look very chic.
Thank you. And it was really interesting because I was like, maybe this is a time in my life where I can focus on a goal of like doing a ski race. Like, why can't I not do a ski race? Not? And so I'm so interested to hear that's how you program out your clients, because it is for a moment.
Yeah. And that's what keeps people motivated. There needs to be some sort of endpoint and then you keep going. So I always have the next thing ready because we don't want to fall off. Like I'll say, for example, like I froze my eggs in December. And what I was nervous about, I was nervous about a lot of things. By the way, if you're going to freeze your eggs, great choice. Please don't listen to everyone give you their negative review of doing it, because I do think you should have a little bit of protection around yourself. Everyone's experience is going to be different, and most people are going to tell you like quite horrific stories. I have to say my experience was overwhelmingly positive, but like you're not working out, for 2 to 3 weeks. And I went home to New Zealand a week after my retrieval. And, they want you to wait till you get your cycle, till you can work out again. And I got my cycle and I was like, I don't feel like it. And I was like, this is crazy. I've never been that person that like didn't have that drive to get up and work out. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is an important lesson. I kind of get it. I kind of get what happens when people fall off. Like, it's kind of nice to wake up with no pressure about what you're going to do today and like, sort of semi in the back of your mind, judging yourself that you haven't worked out or what you haven't done. But then the moment that I started moving my body again, I was just like, this is the absolute like direct source of internal like conversation. It happens through movement. It happens through the way that we treat ourselves. So I always just say to people, I'm like, it's amazing to have these milestones, but like consistency is always the great thread. Like you don't want to burn out. Women are very good at burning out because we're quite masochistic. We're like, I can do it. I can prove a point to myself. I can, But I think there's a real beauty in using these goals to just help you be consistent. And then often the goal will keep evolving. Like I might have a goal that I want to do a hip thrust with a certain amount of weight. And then I get to it and then I'm like, oh, okay, now it's going to maybe increase a little bit more, or I've moved on to like wanting it to be something else. A goal can be as simple as one exercise at a certain rep range or a certain thing. A goal can be a wedding, postpartum recovery. But I think for women, what does best for us is consistency. Like we just love. And if you remember that it truly is like an act of self-love to like keep showing up for your body.
If you want a place in 2026 where you don't have to worry about the algorithm or the charts, but you still want a profitable place to make money off of your brain and thoughts, then we need to talk about Beehiiv. It's a platform I've been using since 2023 that lets you start a newsletter, grow your audience, and make money through a native ad network, paid subscriptions, and digital products, all with a zero take on earnings. And that's where I went to turn my silly little TikToks into the beginning of my media empire. Beehiiv is now a sponsor of Hot Smart Rich. What started as a simple way to share my ideas became the place where I am my most vulnerable with my community, all of you, which combined with Beehiiv's built-in growth tools like boosts, recommendations, and referrals has helped me grow 100% year over year, all while staying insanely engaged and connected to my angels. It's free to start, has preset templates, and an AI website builder to get your newsletter and website up and running so fast. If you want to give it a try, head to beehiiv.com/HSR for 30% off your first 3 months. But make sure you enter the code HSR30 at checkout. That's beehiiv.com/HSR with code HSR30. I often see so many women talk about hyperfixations. Like we all have these ADHD brains and it's 100%. Like, listen to the same song, do the same workout, eat the same thing. Is that helping or hurting us towards our goals?
I think repetition is good in the right ways. Like, I just think if there's anything overly obsessive, I monitor people's control. So like even the first few sessions, whenever I work with someone, I'm really like listening to what they say. I watch their mannerisms. I watch because what I'm trying to identify is anything where I'm like, oh, is this a bit of a dysmorphia or is this something that like I'm going to subtly start working on with someone? And I've had clients in the past that I fired when I was in New York, and there's, it's just people where I'm like, whoa, it's just like you're like honestly a hurricane to deal with, and I can't, like, you don't want to listen, you don't want to, and I think it's really important to protect your energy, but I think we are all going to have some form of hyperfixation. That's just realistic, but there's a way to use that for a benefit. And there's also a way, I think, just to be cognizant of it and be like, okay, I know I have this tendency to want to control this thing around my food and usually it comes back to control. It's always something about controlling our environment, And so I think making women just feel like confident in themselves helps to ease that up. Women will stress bloat themselves all the time. Like, you'd be shocked. And I'll see this, like, especially with petite women, the bloat will show like very quickly. And so a huge thing that I always work with, even with people that do pyro, and I'm just, having conversation with them on Instagram or something, and even with my clients, even with myself. Like, I remember right before I did my first Vuori campaign shoot, I was so stressed because obviously it was like a really big moment and like a big ending with Nike and stuff. And I stress bloated myself. Like, I went from having like my most ripped body and I was like, what's that? Oh my gosh. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just did the thing that I like advise people not to do. And so it's really like learning how to regulate yourself, and I think the beauty of having consistent practice is it's kind of like these guardrails, right, to keep you on the straight road. But you also need to be mindful of knowing when you're like, am I taking it a little bit far? Or like, is this dominating too much of my brain space? It's like we've all been out to dinner with the friend that won't shut up about what's in her food or her ingredients or what she can't have or her allergies and whatever. Or, the people that are hyper fixated on like, I didn't get 10,000 steps today. I'm like, I actually don't care if you didn't get 10,000 steps today. I'd prefer you did regular little movement intervals during the day, especially like after a meal or something, or just break up your sitting. But don't create like mountains out of these little things. They're all just meant to be little healthy guardrails along the day.
I found it so interesting that this year, the most common New Year's resolution was actually to exercise more, which hasn't been the resolution for the last few years. It was being happy, eating healthier, and saving money. So for the first time, it got knocked back into the number one slot. Why do you think that
Love
is?
that for my industry.
Yeah.
Love that. I truly find there's a real freedom when you're moving your body. When I am in a workout, I am going through so many different things and almost like deleting out of my brain. I'm like, I don't need to worry about that anymore. Oh, like things that maybe felt really stressful before you did your workout now seem possibly a little more manageable. Or, I just do think that people realize it changes your state and you can operate from a better place, maybe a more calm place, maybe a more level place. And I think it's when you give back to yourself in a way that is so primal and just so natural, and then you kind of come back. Like, I always say to people sometimes, I'm like, just take a lap here and there. You can like really change the tone of a lot of things by just step back, like regulate your breath, do a little bit of movement, and then come back to that situation that you were going to deal with. Now, I might be the worst girlfriend in the world because I would do that often in relationships. When we're having a fight, I'd be like, I'm just going to take a lap and like exit and go on a walk and then come back and be like, I have my response now. But, you know, I do think that possibly it might not just be about people wanting to look really good. I think it might truly be about people wanting to feel really good and knowing that correlation behind exercise. I will say we're also in an interesting frame again of the Ozempic era where now it's like there's so much pressure on, like, we all think we have to be so thin and so lean and, you know, athletic. So there's also the high rocks craze going on. So maybe people think they need to exercise more for that. It could be a slightly more vain driven goal than what I'm giving it credit for. But I'm just going to say that I hope that it's because people want to feel better in their mood.
Wait, so you've never publicly disclosed what's your opinion on Ozempic or GLP-1?
I know. Well, here's the thing. I think when it first came out, I was very anti and like a little bit disturbed. I was like, what? Like, I mean, I also, just for the record, don't even like taking Advil. So like, I try to be as natural as possible with things, but I also am someone that wants to understand things, right? So I think the more research I did on it, the more reading, when I could see people being like, hey, this has completely like helped clear my Hashimoto's and I'm on a microdose once every 2 weeks, or people with endometriosis or people with extreme symptoms, obviously people with diabetes, you know, but I think when you see very petite people using it for weight loss, it is jarring, and I think it's a bit sad. And I think there's a lot of unmonitored people using it where like they're still not changing other things with their lifestyle, like their food and their movement, and they're just relying on something, which is really unhealthy because you are losing so much muscle on it at the same time. So I think it has the potential to be powerful in certain ways to heal people, but I think it has a lot of power to the rise in body dysmorphia has been insane, you know, and also, you know, we can all spot an Ozempic face from a mile away. I wish it was more heavily monitored. Like now it seems that you can buy it from anywhere, kind of similar to a lot of peptides, and you don't really know if it's safe what people are doing.
It's so interesting to see the ripple effects of other industries. And it's something that you've been a part of, obviously this industry in general, but you launched your own protein brand in 2018. We have to talk about all of the celebrities that have since gone on to launch these like protein packed snacks. So like Khloe Kardashian,
the protein popcorn
to now Mel Robbins doing a 23-gram protein shot per Protein Genius.
Yeah.
What is your take, being in both the celebrity and the protein space, of all of these brands coming out that the consumer is not able to understand, like, what is actually working for me?
Even I was thinking at the start of this year, I was like, it's so overwhelming for consumers in this space, even about knowing like what fitness platform to sign up for when everyone's dropping a program on the same day, or like what protein to use, who do I trust? I think trust in this industry is a very few and far between thing. Like there's like a handful of people I trust in the wellness industry, you know, and I think that's the biggest thing for me is any brand partnership I go into, I have to think about it and I read the ingredients obsessively, because I have a protein powder that is called Made Of because it calls out that you should know what your food is made of. So you should understand what ingredients, like I read ingredients first before I read a nutritional table. Anything else that I do in my life or in business has to sync with that philosophy of Made Of. So there are so many, I'd say no to a lot of paid jobs, a lot of great money, because I don't believe in that. Now, what I think is interesting when it comes to the protein industry and celebrities, I don't think that celebrities have more sway than people that are actually authentic and experts in their field when it comes to protein, from what I've seen. Like, it does better for me when someone who's an acupuncturist or a fertility doctor or something talks about Made Of, who has a way smaller following than a celebrity posting it. Moves the needle way more. I move the needle the most, like, because I think people know I'm also celiac. I'm very particular about what goes in my body, but there's years and layers of trust there. I don't always think that if it's not natural to us for a celebrity to be talking about it, like, it's just like another brand that maybe doesn't need to exist, you know? But I'm also all for more awareness on protein. But it is interesting to see all these brands sprout up. The first thing I do anytime I get sent something is I flip a packet over and I'm like, oh, never. I'm in straight in the trash.
And like for someone like me who has no idea what they're looking for, like what is a key warning red flag sign? Like, do not consume this when everyone's talking about it.
David protein bars, for example, like please don't do that. There's obviously more and more stuff has been coming out about them. It's about how they have been misleading on their packaging about what's actually in there, but also using like a fake type of fat as one of the main ingredients and then buying that entire company and using that. And it's something your body can't really digest, but also many of the other ingredients are in there. Like, say, for example, when I'm looking at a protein powder, especially if it's a whey, I'm not looking for a concentrate or a blend. I'm looking for an isolate because that has essentially all the lactose removed. So if you do get sensitive to dairy, that's going to be your best bet. It's also got the highest quality type of protein in it that your body can digest and use really fast. And that's important when it comes to protein. The more ingredients that get stacked in there, the less protein you're actually getting in that bar or that powder or that product. So say, for example, with Made Of, we get 25 grams of protein per scoop of New Zealand grass-fed whey. You might have another protein that has like 15 grams per scoop that we're not sure if it has it, but then they have a bunch of fillers. You know, you're reading an ingredient list that might be 10 plus ingredients, some that are 20 plus, you know, and you might see 4 different sweeteners in there. There might be monk fruit, stevia, coconut sugar, and then an alcohol sugar at the same time. And you're like, what's going on in here, you know? And I totally get it. It's so confusing and overwhelming for the consumer. So I always say, I'm like, hey, if you're not sure, like maybe you can reach out to the brand, or you can like, obviously the internet's kind of amazing. You can search things, but the internet's also a bit of a scary place. But you shouldn't have more than one sweetener in a brand, or no sweeteners. Like we have an unflavored Made Of for people that don't want, we have the smallest amount of organic stevia in our vanilla and chocolate. I don't like the taste of stevia, and like I love our vanilla and chocolate. I don't taste it at all. But then I'll look at something like Ballerina Farms that has like 3 sweeteners in it, you know, or other products. And it just depends on also what you're looking for. And it's not to demonize saying this product's good, this product's not, but it's like there's all these little details of things that you might be consuming something daily. And if your goal really is to change your body or change how you feel, then all those details start to matter.
When you go into your clients' kitchens, what are the go-to products that you just immediately put in the bin?
I would put in any pre-made protein drink in the trash. Those are terrible. They've got so many stabilizers and fillers and then probably oils, you know. That's the other thing. Always looking out for oils. Like you don't want these like sunflower oils or canola oil or anything like that. I would throw out most bars. I personally use my friend Ali's Glow bars, which she makes with Made Of in them, which is amazing, but they're like handmade. Do you know what I mean? Natural sugars like dates and things like that. But otherwise there's very few bars that like, I get it. Protein bars are convenient, you know. So I'll throw out a lot of the packaged foods unless it's like a really great hydration product or a great collagen, or maybe if someone's using creatine or something, but I'm always looking at that. And then, you know, you can even look at people when they're having almond butter or something, and there's like you can get an almond butter that's just almonds, or you can get an almond butter that's got oil in it and sugar, and you know, you're like, what is going on here? It's like a calorie bomb. And there's always low-hanging fruits. So I always say to people, I'm like, here's a very fast way to make a difference into your body. I would go no soy. I would take out corn. People always freak out with the corn. Not hating on corn on the cob. Corn on the cob is fine. But it is a big thing. And like if you are shredding for something, you would typically take out corn. Take out sweeteners. Like so many people are sweetening their coffee or sweetening like a drink that they're having 2 to 3 times a day without you just like not even thinking about it. Those are 3 very easy, actionable things that you could be like step 1 to change. And then you can keep going in through it. The reason I love keto as a plan is, by the way, if you've never tried keto before, I'm not saying go jump on keto. I personally went keto when I was starting to film on fitness DVDs. I was partying, I was still drinking, I was going out with my friends, I was young and fun, and like I was a little like, you know, like skinny fat, maybe, I don't know, whatever, just like had boobs, all those fun things that you lose through fitness. And see you, R.I.P. And I remember them being like, okay, you're going to be keto now, you only drink black coffee. And I was like, ugh. And I used to drink a soy flat white. And my trainer was like, I promise you, if you even just take the soy flat white out, you're going to notice such a difference. And he was not wrong. I was like, oh my gosh, like soy is so inflammatory. And so even like a milk change can be crazy for people. Or like if you're always drinking oat milk, you know, trying not to have that. But when you go through keto, what I think the amazing thing about it, even if you don't stay being keto, you change your taste palette. Like you learn to feel like taste the sweetness actually of vegetables. You taste, because you're stripping away all these external sugars that you're so used to relying on, that your body and mind get weirdly used to. And then when you go back to trying to eat them, you're like, oh, that just tastes fake. Like that doesn't taste good. That doesn't taste real. So I think what is nice about it is it gives you a different like taste palette for food. So it makes it so much easier to have maybe control around some of these like bingy patterns or bad like habits.
I even notice that when I'm on vacation, when I'm in Europe and I'm having gelato and I'm having whatever, it takes me a few days and or weeks to get back to the palate where I enjoy the sweetness from fruit and vegetables again. And I think it's going back to your point of like having grace with yourself and having that consistency of like, okay, it doesn't taste as good yet, but it will. I know it's about to come.
Yeah.
Because it's not like overnight you're going to be able to make that change.
And that's the biggest issue with most people trying to get change in their body is they quit before they even got there. So even with keto, I remember the first time I did it, it was like my poor boyfriend at the time, he was like, I lived with him and his brother and we were all rapidly losing weight because I would cook for us. And they were like, I'm starving. And I was like, I'm not, because I was eating lunch twice a day. I was even sometimes having steak for breakfast. That's when he told me I was taking it too far, which I agreed. But I was eating more than I'd ever eaten before. It was just very clean. And by like day 7 to 9, your energy feels insane. Like you're pretty moody the days before. And I was like, oh, I get it now. But you meet so many people that can't get to that point. That feels like forever. And it's kind of the same with fitness. Like, you know, when you start something new, it's like even when you take up running, you know, you're like, this sucks. Like this is absolutely terrible. And if you can't push through that threshold to get to the good place, it's always going to suck. So I would like monitor on quitting early. And if that's like a habit that consistently shows up in your life, I always say to people, I'm like, if you're the person that stops, like if I'm counting you down at a workout and I'm like, there's 10 seconds left and you choose to stop then, I guarantee you do that in so many other areas of your life. Like I bet you do it in relationships. I bet you do it at work. I bet you do it when you get challenged with something and you pull out on yourself when you're so close. And it's like, it is a very like transferable behavior. So that's why I say to people, I'm like, you owe it to yourself to do it. You owe it to yourself to get there. And it sounds stupid and it sounds like one of those cringe things that fitness people say, but I would say that to a lot of clients and they were like, that is the biggest thing that stuck with me because they're like, it was true. I did it all the time. Anything started to get a little bit hard, I'd be like, I don't care. I don't want to do it anymore.
How does someone learn to not do that anymore?
Well, I always say to people, I'm like, do you want it? Because a lot of people say they want something, but they don't act like it. And I'm like, I can't want it more than you. Like, it's your job, like, that you are going to shoot for. Like, I cannot come and live in your body. Like, I can give you all the tools to get there. But if you don't actually want it, we're not going to get there. Like, you have to have that within you, that, like, little fight and that spirit. And it takes people a while to get there. I used to tell people, this sounds so mean, I'm actually a really nice trainer, but I remember telling a girl one day she was a 6 out of 10 in a workout, and she was like, that was the most amazing feedback I ever got, because she was like, it was so true. Like, I used to train her in the Nike New York office, and she'd come in, she had really long hair, it was never tied up, she was always like flinging around, taking forever doing stuff, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, girl, it's just like 6 out of 10 energy. I was like, we got to be better than this. And like, we have to like the way that you show up for yourself is so powerful. And I think the biggest dysmorphia that we have and the biggest issue we have is the way we speak to ourselves. And like, I read this scary stat that was saying like how many words per minute we can speak to ourselves in our mind because it's so much faster than what we say out loud. And I was like, that's so scary. And especially with women, I think we're very hard on ourselves all day. So I'm like, what if we even change like a percentage of that conversation to act in your favor? And that's why I like when people actually like want things for themselves, because you have an anchor point to stick to, right? Like it's your guiding light anytime that it starts to get a little bit difficult. And I think that's why I've got where I've got to in my career. And I always say to people, I go, I want it. Like, that's the thing. It's not about being competitive with other people. It's about being competitive with myself. Like, I want it and I'm going to get it.
The last time I went to my gym with my trainer, I was on my period. I was dealing with this eye surgery and I was not lifting heavy. So we were doing back rows. I think I was at 50. And today he was like, okay, let's start at 50. I was like, this is so easy. Bump it up to 60. So easy. We ended up getting to 100.
It's amazing.
And I was just like thinking about it in my head as like, why was that? And I think it was a few things. One, it was the way I was talking to myself that day. It was like, I was just done. I didn't want it. I didn't want to be there. And two, I think also for women in your cycle, it can change how you can perform.
Oh, 100%.
For you, I guess, 2 questions on that. What is the best type of motivator for someone listening to this? Is it that positive reinforcement, or is it that voice in their head telling them like, you can't do this almost, or someone telling them you can't do this to make that change?
Oh, I can go both ways. I always used to operate out of a tough love standpoint with myself, and like really like this grittiness and like, oh, I'm going to like prove a point and like I can, like I had this very like toxic, masochistic, like internal cycle that I would use as drive and momentum. Whereas now I have a very honest conversation with myself. Like if it is that part of my cycle, like sometimes I've trained 4 clients in a row and I'm like, I need to get out of this gym before I obliterate. Like my patients, like, it's a lot being in gyms. They're kind of like a sensory overload environment, especially like sometimes we're in a private gym, sometimes we're not. And I'm like, I just need to leave. This isn't what I need. And I'm going to work out later at home, or I'm going to go on a walk or whatever. On the days like what you were mentioning before, where you're like, I don't want to be here. I always say to people, I'm like, don't be there. You can actually just like go on a walk. You'll probably feel way better about yourself, or maybe you need a rest day. Like, learn when to put the pressure on and when not to, because it allows the great days to be even greater, and it gives yourself, rather than being in something like, we've all been in a class before and you're like, I hate every second of this, I can't wait to leave. Like that's a really bad feeling, and it kind of impacts the rest of your day. And this was something I had to work on a lot. I went to Hoffman last year and identified, like, my biggest fear about going to Hoffman was losing my masochism, because I believed that was my strength. I was like, that's the thing that I have this tough love with myself that makes me great. And I was like, oh my God, I was so wrong. I was so wrong. That was actually blinding me. And I was like very like, yeah, I just wasn't realistic about this actual strength that I had, that was a little bit more like, I'm honest with myself and like I know what I'm capable of and I know what I can do, and I also know when it's time to say no, and like that's enough. And that to me was like a really bizarre way to get to know myself, when I was so used to like doing the same thing up until my mid-30s, of how I'd treat myself. I know with my clients how to motivate them. Like sometimes I'll be like, they're sprinting on the curved treadmill, which is awful. And I'll be like, oh, just set that pole over there. Like if you get over an 11 or 12 on speed on this, like this is who you're running past, or this is what's happening. And like we'll use little things like that, or like you're running to this certain goal that they had of like winning something or getting a movie role or whatever it is. And so I think it's important to have maybe some little things that motivate you, where it can possibly be like, oh, okay, I need to get that. But the self-hate approach, I think, can't be forever, or like the like it works for a certain amount of time. But I wonder how much of that becomes a belief about ourselves, that we then don't realize when all the good things are happening, and we don't know when it's time to like, say no to things that are happening in real life, because we're using that so much in exercise or in other difficult situations.
2026 is the year we get hot, smart, and rich. But there is such a thing as being too hot. And that's what happens when you run as hot as I do when you sleep at night. I didn't realize how much of a difference your sheets make. Truly. One of the biggest upgrades I made was investing in sheets that actually keep me cool, so I can get the 8 hours of sleep I need to perform at my best this year. I kept seeing Cozy Earth everywhere, so I finally tried them because I could return them hassle-free. HSR, not only do these keep me cool at night, but they are the softest sheets I have ever felt. Perfect that they now sponsor my show. And now is the time. It's the new year, the perfect moment for a reset. And if you don't love them, you can return them hassle-free. I'm so excited to be partnering with Cozy Earth because they stand by their product with a 10-year warranty. So visit CozyEarth.com and use my code HSR for 20% off. Was there a moment that you decided, I have to go to Hoffman?
Yes. So my brother's an addict, and I think that was why I became a trainer, truly, in the first place, because I did his like recovery with him. And actually, when I was in the second to last year of high school, my brother and my best friend went off the rails on the same drug, like on methamphetamine. And it's a very destructive drug. And I think for me, it felt I felt like very sad and lonely, and like didn't have anyone to really talk to about it. I went to an all-girls private school, so they were quite judgmental about certain things. I already grew up in the countryside, and I think it just made me become very disciplined and very controlled. I like wanted to control all my environments, right? So anyway, my brother got clean, which was amazing. And then there was a bit of a relapse territory, which happened when I went home for Christmas a couple of years ago. And then I came back to LA, and then the fires happened. And I was like, oh man, this is like, this is just a lot. And I think there was a lot of other things just going on for me internally that I was thinking about. Like there was changes that needed to happen in my life. And I was kind of like, enough's enough. I think it's time to go. And so I went in March, and it was the best thing that I ever did. Like I loved it. I'm not one of those people that's coming out being like, I see you, I love you. And like, it's totally fine if you do that after you come out of Hoffman, because it's one of the big things they say there. But I actually came out and with myself, I was like, oh, I see you and I love you. Like, I never could accept a compliment before. I could never honor anything that I did. I had this very like bad relationship with my value. And that was the biggest thing that I went in to work on. And when I came out, I was like, oh yeah, I don't negotiate on that anymore. I could never say no. I was bad at setting boundaries. It didn't matter like how much therapy I would do with my therapist who I loved. But like, and now I'm like, I'm not even seeing my therapist. I was just like, I went to, and it's not saying it's a quick fix, right? Another thing, like I was saying, like, it'll work for you if you want it to. And if you really want to make change. But what was interesting was one of the things that popped up when I was there, they were like, oh, you deny anger. And I was like, no, I don't. And they're like, yeah, you do. And they're like, if you get in a fight, do you lose it? Like, do you expect, and I'm like, no. And I would keep everything inside every single time because it was a trait that I learned from like this stepmother that I had when I was young. It was so interesting because I was like, wow, that's probably the biggest thing that I carry over into all these things when I'm getting treated badly at work or I'm getting treated, you know, unfairly in a lot of these situations. And I don't feel like I can say something like, because I think that it's rude or it's confrontational or it's this. I held all these very weird beliefs about actually just owning my value and my worth. And I was always hoping that people would see my value or acknowledge it. And then when I came out, the biggest shift has been, and I feel like you're someone that's very good at this, being like, no, this is my value and it's not a negotiation. And I stopped negotiating with myself. I was like, I am worth this and I am good. And like, I will work for like, you know, I will always do the work. So I think it was like, for me, it was just like a game-changing experience. And it gets better and better, you know, every month that goes on. My family have this joke. They're always like, oh, I think the Hoffman is working.
It's honestly like, I don't know, I hate to say the word proud, but I think that's what the whole goal of Hot Smart Rich is for women. Like my original mission statement was like to know and build women's worth. And it's funny because I remember when my sister came into the business, like there was a lot of small deals that would come our way and I was like, no. And I think you can probably relate to this because even in terms of like what follower count you have usually equates to brand deal size, right? And when I was getting these small brand deals and my sister was like, you know, cash, like we kind of need the money. And I was like, you just wait. Like we are worth more than this. And our value as a community and as a company is worth so much more. And by the way, that's where the trust is with our community because we're not pushing products down people's throats just to make money. Yeah. And of course I say that from a place of privilege, but I think it's, you know, now that we're both on the other side of it, and it's like when you know your worth and you are willing to wait for those opportunities and you are willing to like sacrifice the things that are such low hanging fruit to get there. Yeah. It is the most empowering feeling that you can ever have. And I think one of the biggest things that you've talked about having gone through Hoffman and now knowing your worth was leaving Nike.
Yeah. That was the catalyst for change for me, for sure. So it was interesting. I came out of Hoffman. I had 4 months left in my Nike contract. And I remember at first being like very optimistic when I came back and, you know, sort of being like, okay, yeah, like I think the biggest thing that I always say to people, I go, no one tells you when it's time to leave. Like that's not something we're taught, especially as women. You know, I think we fight so hard to get these things that then we actually don't know when it's time to leave. And we ignore a lot of the signs of things. And I'd been with Nike for 13 and a half years. And it was my dream at one point. And then I just had to be honest. I was like, this isn't my dream anymore. Like, I love Nike. I always will. I think they're such an amazing brand. So many of my friends work there. You know, my best friend Joe was my male lead. You know, like getting to do that with like your peers is so amazing. But I think for a long time, my fear of leaving Nike was, I was like, it's so much of who I am. Like people would be like, that's that Nike girl, that's that da-da-da. But I was like, I have a name. Like I'm my own person. And I think when I realized when I left, I was actually like, oh, so many of those things that I thought were about them weren't. They were about me. It's me. I'm pyro. I'm fiery. I love working out. I get to make people love working out. Like that's my power. It's actually not about them. They were just the logo on it. And we had amazing experiences. It changed my life, but it was time to go. Like it was time for the next adventure. It was time for the next experience. What was really crazy was without realizing the last day of my Nike contract was the same exact date is the last day that I left the company in New Zealand for Nike, like to go with Nike full time. 10-year cycle loop. Like that is so crazy without me realizing until it popped up later as like a reminder in my phone. I remember this photo came up and it was like my last day at the other company. And I was like, oh, and it was like 10 years ago today. And I was like, that is so scary, like without knowing. And I just felt it in my entire being. So I was near the end of my contract and this opportunity came up and, you know, I'd heard about Vuori. They were on my radar. I'd been seeing a lot of people. Kaia was obviously partnered with them by this point. She was coming into the gym all the time. And I was like, damn, Vuori's actually kind of cute. And I'd be like, can I touch the material? You know, and then I actually met the founder and had a conversation with him. And that was for me the real turning point. I was like, he's amazing. Like Joe is incredible. He cares so much about the brand. And I felt really excited again. And I hadn't felt excited in a long time. And I was like, oh, wow, yeah, this is the right move. This is a brand that sees me as the woman that I am now, not like the 23-year-old that they signed. And they are going to honor me at my today value. And we're going to build together. And it's really fun and exciting to work with brands that are in that moment, you know, where there's so much momentum, there's so much energy. And one of the biggest things for me was I said to him, I was like, what's one of your biggest goals? And he said, I want women to feel good in our product. And that for me is like the biggest thing is like, I just want women to feel good in their bodies. And I was like, perfect. Like that's going to work well for me, you know, like I get to work with them to make their brand feel more performance or make it feel a little more like I am a tomboy. I'm trying to get in my feminine, about a Hoffman as well. And actually being with Vuori has been a big part of that journey, you know, like their clothes are more feminine and it's been so fun. Like it's been really amazing. And I think the best thing has been like this different identity and relationship with myself of being like, oh, wow, like I was giving so much credit to that always being actually about Nike, but it was about me. It was always me.
I think you still are, but like I know you now. But like when I was a fan strictly, I thought you were always so much more than just the Nike girl, but it was such a big part of your identity. And I think a lot of people listening to this have things that feel a part of their identity, but it's time for them to go and no one's given them a sign. Like, what are those signs in your body when you were still in your Nike contract that you were just like, it's good, but something's off?
I think for me, I was like, I'm not going to keep negotiating with you about my value. Like, I'm not a discount. Like, I'm one of the best in my field. And I respect myself enough to know that now and to stand firm on that, you know? So I think if you're in a situation where you maybe feel like you're always having to prove a point or like, you know, and I'm not saying that in a sense of not giving your job your all, because I watch people all the time get complacent in their jobs, and complacency for me is one of the most unattractive traits in people. I've broken up with a lot of boyfriends over that. But I think if you take a second to sit back and be like, what is it that's bothering me? Is it the way that I don't feel like my like skill or my work is respected? Or do I feel like I'm not challenged anymore? Do I feel like there isn't room for progression? Because for me, there wasn't anywhere else to go. I was at this role. I was like, there's nothing else to change here. That's it. So am I okay with staying here? I'm in the plateau now. And plateaus are fine for a certain amount of time. But I was like, I've got so much more, and I felt like restricted. And I was like, I'm so ready to unleash and like really feel like a true partner again with a brand and not just an accessory. And so I would just ask yourself some of those questions, being like, how do I feel when I think about going to work, and how do I feel about the next 6 months or the next 12 months? Like, do I feel excited? Do I feel motivated? Do I see a future here? What do I really want? Like, get very honest with yourself. Also pay attention to like what's happening in the body. Like a lot of the time we'll be feeling tightness, you know, it's like I know for me, it's in the chest. I'm not breathing that well. I'm like, you know, you're almost fighting the inevitable sometimes of like just taking in a big breath and being like, oh, you know, and like, I will forever love Nike, but I feel so happy.
I'm so happy for you.
I think I said something in my post when I was leaving. I was like, just know that like if someone's telling you that you're less, like I will always be here telling you that you're more. Because you should always believe that you're more. You should have that fight for yourself.
Can we talk about the more?
Yeah.
So you don't have to confirm or deny. But there was rumors that your deal with Vuori was valued around $2 million.
I'm blushing.
When people started speaking about the size of your deal, did it impact the way that people treated you?
Yeah. I think that brands came correct, like even other brands. I think, yeah. And I think for me, like, I always say to people, I love, whenever brands would be like, it's not personal, it's just business. And this was my time to be like, it's not personal, it's just business. But it was also personal. Like, I was just like, this is about me. It's for me. This is for my future. I work so hard. I think people don't realize, like, the way that my day is structured, like, I get up at 5 so I can do work on my laptop before I go train clients from 7 till 12 in the gym. Then I come home. Then I start my other jobs of running my online platform and my protein powder and any other brand partnerships on. I'll probably work on that from like 1 till 8 or maybe sometimes later. And whilst I'm in the gym with clients, probably at least 3 things have gone wrong on something. Like sometimes I'll quickly see something on my phone because I'm not one of those trainers that's on their phone while they're training people. And it'll be like, your whole site's down. And I'll be like, oh, quick internal panic attack. And being like, gonna have to like fire off a quick Slack message in the 2 minutes that I have to run to the bathroom and pee between my clients and then figure this out when I get home, So I was like, I am worth a lot of money. I'm really good at my job. My people skills are amazing. Like, I make people feel good about themselves and believe in themselves. And it's time that I started acting like I deserved it at this point in my career.
Have there been any cons for you to disclose a number of that magnitude while you've been so honest in the market?
I think what was funny was like I was on a Zoom call and I get this text from one of my friends and she'd screenshot the email with the subject line and I was like, oh! And she was like, go off, queen. And I was like, wait, what? And then like all these texts started coming through and I was like still on the Zoom call and I was like, oh my gosh. And then I call my dad. Like, New Zealanders don't talk about money. We're very like, I'm sure you've heard of like tall poppy syndrome and stuff and like people, you don't speak about anything. And I was like, oh my God, I think I'm going to have a panic attack. Like no one can know that. And he goes, isn't that everything that you went to Hoffman about is like your value and like all these things that you were working on? And like, he's like, I get it. That's also jarring and feels personal and whatever. But like, is there still a part of you that believes you're not worth that? I think that's what you're panicking about. It's like people having an opinion about that and having discourse. People are always going to have discourse about anything. And I think it's been nice because I think if people have a problem with anything to do with someone's worth, I'm like, that's fine. But I'm like, I don't sit around like, I'm such a cheerleader for people. I'm always like, yes, like go off. Like my favorite sport is hyping people up. Like that's why my clients love me. That's why my friends love me. And it's not gaslighting. It's truly like, I believe in people and I want people to do the best. And I'm always happy for people when they get things that I know they deserve. So like, that's my mentality on it. So if you don't like it, okay, if you want to spend your energy like bitching about it, but like, yeah.
Now that you feel like there's been probably a little bit of breathing room where you're like, I'm a startup founder, I'm training these most photographed women in the entire world, and I finally have this breathing room with this brand. Like, what is like the next thing for you that would make you feel alive again?
I think it would be probably having more time for Pyro and Made Of, because I have these 2 incredible companies that I'm like, oh, they could just be amazing ideas if I never give them like the full attention. Like I've always made everything else a priority over them, like Nike clients, all these things, even though I make more money from both those businesses than I do from either of those other things. So it's like, oh, what would happen if I really put my attention and focus on these 2 incredible companies, and having like, even being able to have Pyro, my own online fitness platform, was a fight. Like Nike had digital exclusivity over me for years. So imagine knowing that around 98% of their audience in their training app were only in your programs, but you don't get paid any extra for that. It's a one-time fee that we all got paid for our programs. We all got paid the same, whatever. I might be their highest paid trainer, but like you're not paying for digital exclusivity. The landscape has changed. Like everyone is starting their own platforms and you've got people that aren't even good trainers making mega dollars, off this. And like this is also, you're limiting my creativity, my expertise and my freedom in this sense. So I'm like, okay, I fought so hard to be able to have Pyro, and so it's going to be really shameful if I don't like go for it, So it's like I've been leaning more into Pyro, I've been leaning more into Made Of and like building those companies, because I truly think, yes, while they're brands and I'm selling a service or a product, I made those because I care about how women feel. And I watch brands shortchange in powders all the time, or like put out workouts that use so much toxic language about your body. Like if you ever do a Pyro workout, the number of times you will hear me be like, talk about your beautiful body and like you can do it. And like, come on, like we're doing this and this, I'm not calling you my loves and my angels. I'm talking to you with maybe a tiny bit of tough love and like realistic, but like people have said before, sometimes they're like, I don't know what she was going through during this one, but this was like a sermon or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, it's hard sometimes. And like, but I believe in you. And like, I want you to be your best self and I want you to win. And so I think whilst I have these brands that obviously make money, like they're also about like hopefully empowering people to be better in themselves. So what would make me really happy would be like seeing those two like truly get the proper attention from me and like continue to like skyrocket.
You talked a little bit about femininity and masculinity, something that you're working on. Does the way that you dress really affect that?
I think so. I'm really fortunate. Like Christine Santanera is one of my like very close friends and like almost like a mentor to me. And she is so chic. Like, I'm not sure if anyone's worn Wardrobe NYC. I'm sure you have. And she's also had amazing collections with Hailey Bieber. And Christine is so amazing because she knows me so well and gets me so well. She'd be like, just, babe, you're just going to put this on. It'll be like a double layer, like mesh, like lace tight bodysuit. And I was like, no. And she's like, it's going to look amazing on you. And then I'll put it on. I'm like, oh my God, I feel hot in this, but I don't feel overly girly. Like, I think I used to mistake femininity with like girliness and like pink and things. But I was like, actually, it's about, I think it's more of like a divine feeling in yourself and what that feels like. Like, I love a mini skirt with a high boot and a big blazer. And that to me still feels a little bit like that slightly masc femme dressing. But it's funny whenever I pop out in a dress, if I have to go to someone's wedding, people are always like, KG, you need to wear a dress way more. But somewhere lodged in my brain, this like tomboy like still is like, no, I can't wear a dress, you know? It's been actually really fun, I think, with the Vuori stuff is to be a little more playful with some of the outfits, like double layering some of the cute little camis instead of wearing like a big oversized t-shirt with little shorts and how I would often dress with Nike. But I think femininity is an important relationship with yourself because I think sometimes at a deep layer it's about like, do you feel beautiful? Like, I also feel beautiful in really baggy sweatpants. Love, but cool when I wear like a tight baby tee with it. You know, I'm like, oh, I did both. I can be on the fringe here. I don't have to be wearing my full baggy set, you know, oversized everything. Like, my friends used to joke, they're like, craziest tiny body hiding under all that material. Body dysmorphia has been a huge part of that for me, and like getting more confident with my body and getting more confident with myself. And that's been, I will say, when I kind of came into a better value recognition with myself, I didn't realize actually how much that would change how I felt about my body at the same time. Like, sometimes you don't realize like the way that all these things are like intermingling with each other. So like, nothing makes me happier than when I see a woman feel really good about themselves. Like, you know, when someone walks down the street, you're like, damn, girl, get it. Like that, I love that. And that's never been me. And I'm like working my way there, but like nothing means more to me than when people are like, they're like, damn, you just feel really good. Like, you seem happy and you seem vibrant and like, yeah.
How has that affected your dating life now that you're in this like totally new headspace?
Listen, I have a little acronym. It's not Hot, Smart, Rich. Hot, Smart, Rich. It's Hot, Tall, Foreign. That's my toxic trait. I have this thing for these 6'5" guys, you know, and there is absolutely no reason for it. Tall and toxic, I like to say. I'm sure there's some really nice tall guys out there. I have not made great dating choices in the past. And similar to how I didn't maybe have value with myself in the workplace, I didn't have the right value with myself in relationships. Like, I've always been the breadwinner. I have always been the real anchor in the relationship, but I always stay way too long. And I'm not sure why. Like, this bizarre level of patience and, you know, so that's something I'm really learning to not do now and just observe things early on. I don't date in LA at present. Like, if you are hot, tall, foreign, nice, kind, semi-successful, like, holla. But even if you're not tall, that's fine. But like, I think it's kind of hard sometimes, like in LA. I'm not sure like how you met your husband, but yeah, I think at the moment, like, I really decided last year was like all about self-evolution. Like, I knew I had to leave Nike. I knew I was going to do this new thing. I knew I needed to freeze my eggs. And I really wanted that year to be about like clean up for myself so that then when I would maybe next like get into dating or like, and I've gone on some dates and stuff, and that's been like a fun experiment to like see how I felt and being like really showing up as myself from the first date. Like, that's something that I think is really cool about your 30s, you know yourself so much more. I used to be like, man, I miss being 26 and I was so driven and I was so this and that. And I was like, yeah, but I'm a little more informed now, you know, and I'm probably protecting my energy a little bit more. And I think your 30s, like, I have a lot of friends that are older than me, and it's stunning to watch them go through their late 30s and then into their 40s. And I think women just continue to evolve and become more beautiful. And I think it's about owning your voice and like owning yourself, and just having more of that confidence shining through in so many different ways. So the dating's not going well at the moment. It's not going. But yeah, we're optimistic for the future.
I feel like though you're in the right headspace for it. Like I just think until you really come to terms with like your own worth and your own sense of value, it's hard to date someone because you're just trying to be liked by them.
Yes. And I was like, again, the negotiating with self thing, like there was so many things like in my past relationship where I was like, God, that's so off brand. And I would like still stick around. He was hot. But that doesn't mean everything. I also am someone that is like obsessed with their friends. Like I ride and die for my friends. Like, you know, the group chat is like just like a thread through my entire being. And I love my friends so much. So like I don't feel lonely. I'm also like busy all the time with work. So sometimes it's hard to gauge. You know, I'm like, okay, but this was the first year. I don't know what happened. I was home in New Zealand and I was like, I kept getting this bizarre, very strong feeling. I was like, oh, I think I'm going to meet someone next year. So who knows?
Kayla, you have to come on for round 2.
Yeah, maybe I come on. I'm like, oh, babe, oh, my rock.
I rock. Okay, we have to do some rapid fire. What is the last thing you put on your credit card?
A Range Rover. Sorry, it is.
What color?
It's black with the brown interior.
And has it arrived?
Yes.
Is it here?
No, I'm dropping my other car off today. It's very hot, smart, rich to have 2 cars today.
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with that. Okay. Would you rather do calories in food or drinks?
Food. I was going to say, I drink a lot of drinks. Like I drink a lot of protein and broth and matcha but food.
Do you drink alcohol?
Yeah, but I haven't been for the last 4 months because I like stopped 3 months before freezing my eggs. And like, listen, I love a spicy mug, but I can drink a sumac chili Gia and kind of get the same vibe. And like, I'm paid to be on in the morning. So, you know, special occasions.
Love that. AM or PM workout?
AM for cardio, PM for strength.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, lymphatic drainage or deep tissue massage for recovery?
Lymphatic drainage.
Yeah. Red light therapy or foam rolling?
Damn, I'm obsessed with both. I do both every day. Foam rolling. People need to do it more.
Okay.
I mean, but red light therapy for the skin.
I know.
It's so good.
Coffee or matcha?
Matcha.
Cold plunge or sauna?
Cold plunge.
Ooh, I was not expecting that one.
Sauna. I hate.
Wait, I'm the opposite. I hate a cold plunge.
Oh, I love it. I'll stay in there for like 15 minutes.
That's how I know you're toxic. I'm kidding.
I'm still working on that part.
What is your favorite wellness brand that isn't yours?
Rocky's matcha.
Ooh, I haven't tried that.
It's the best matcha.
Okay. Who is your favorite comfort creator?
Rory to the rescue. It's like a cat rescue account.
Oh my God, I love you.
I'm obsessed with cats and I like comment on all their stuff and donate.
Wait, you're so cute. Okay, last one, Kirsty Godso. If you could title this season of your life, what would it be called?
Burn 2.0.
I like that.
Everything's better. Everything's hotter.
Wait, HSR, Burn 2.0. I'm going to start to do this program when I'm traveling.
Please, you must.
Yeah, because like I do like a workout.
Yeah.
So I struggle with the online programs a little bit because I just don't feel like I'm lifting enough.
Yeah.
Is it like heavy weights?
Yeah, you'll like this one because you get strength, sweat, and sculpt all in one program.
Yeah.
So like you get a lot of good strength, you get microdoses of cardio, and then you get like really hardcore sculpt. So it's really fun. Like people are loving it.
Okay, I'm going to be doing that when
I'm going to set your routine up in this nice little home gym that I peeped.
Please. Okay, Kirsty Godso, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Kirsty Godso. And yeah.
And what can HSR help you with right now?
My femininity.
No, but like, are you hiring?
Yeah.
You have
No, I'm not. But if you want to work out with me, you can work out on at Pyro Sport is my fitness platform. And if you want to drink the best quality protein powder, it is at Made Of.
Can't wait. Thank you so much for coming on. I had the best time talking to you.
Thank you, babe. I'm so proud of you.
I'm so inspired by you, honestly. Like, I had chilled a lot throughout the episode, and that's a really good barometer for me.
Okay,
so thank you for coming on. Bye, guys.